Okay, so we just saw something we've never seen before in UFC history at a press conference. An undefeated 9-0 fighter, 25 years old, from Tajikistan, known as Nabatav Durabshak. I don't know if I've pronounced that correctly, but this guy was impressive. Now, depending on which lens you look, you're either going to be really, really mad or really, really inspired. Especially if you're an amateur fighter with aspirations to be in the UFC or be a professional. I know people who are in the amateur leagues of fighting and everything like that, or just turned pro and still have to be in the minor leagues before they get their shot at the UFC, even if they do. Because there's people who are really good who did not get their shot at the UFC because they weren't marketable enough. There's a bit of marketability that comes with it. And for those guys, they have to pay their trainers, they have to pay their managers who are getting them fights, all that stuff. And man, that is an inspiration, at least to me. But like I said, if you're a fighter, you've probably been paying for a lot of stuff and you still have the lofty dream. Meanwhile, this guy even shown that he doesn't have a manager and he's handled his whole career himself. So he's a real do-it-yourself guy. And if you're from Tajikistan, I don't know the economics of his background or his country or how things go. I'm not really educated on there. But what I do understand is it's interesting when you see a foreign fighter come in. He doesn't have a whole lot of tools to work with on the business end, but he probably has a lot to offer in the octagon. So he's making up for it by probably doing one of the best publicity stunts. And I think if you're not mad about what he just did, the inspiration comes from, a lot of people wait till they have the perfect manager, the perfect team, the perfect record like this guy has to make it into the UFC or to ask to be in the UFC or to try and contact Dana themselves because they don't want to seem desperate. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, and that guy was the squeakiest wheel for the UFC that we have actually seen in a long time, and he didn't over-squeak. He just gave the right amount of turn to get our attention, and they are setting him up now. Now, this is not going to be a for sure championship moment in the UFC where he's going to get the belt, Cinderella Man, all that kind of stuff, or whatever fighting movie you fancy. But it should show us that when you don't have all the tools that some people might have access to because, he probably just didn't have access to afford a manager. Or, he said I could just manage myself and be my own manager and be my own guy and do it all, which I like people who just develop skills and learn how to do it themselves. It makes them more self-efficient. This should show us just a little bit of a standard that we might, even if we're professional fighters or not, apply to everyday life. Don't wait for the perfect setup or everything like that. Just start doing it and then learn as you're getting it done and start learning as you're earning, as they say. But, wow, that's all I got to say. I'm looking forward to when this guy's on the roster, and I'm going to be watching his fight because if he has what it takes to fight in the UFC, if his in the octagon is just as good as his out of the octagon, he might be all right. But, hey, there might be levels too, so we'll see where this goes. Peace. Congratulations on your sign to the UFC.